Wi-Fi Sheep would like to say a huge thank you to all of you that kindly support us. Help us continue to bring new videos like this. Join patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep from just $1 a month. Hi everyone and welcome back to youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep with me, Tom. Now, this video I need to do a bit of an impromptu emergency repair. There's going to be a few videos like this as I need to get a couple of things that are really annoying me sorted out, especially for the new year. Do you have a need for reliable and cost-effective web hosting for your blog, business or personal website? If so, then look no further than CheapHostUK. CheapHostUK's basic plan starts from only 58p per month. That's $6.99 a year. And if you're needing a little bit more, CheapHostUK's premium packages start from £1.41 per month or $16.99 a year, complete with a free .co.uk domain. New customers can also take advantage of an extra 10% discount when purchasing any first-time hosting package or domain name from CheapHostUK. Use discount code SHEEP, that's SHEEP, to get an extra 10% off. For reliable, cost-effective web hosting and domains, look no further than CheapHostUK. Full details and an affiliate link are in the description to this video. And today I want to look at the LED lights. Now, if you know me in this channel and what I do, you'll know that I like to have these LED lights normally in a blue cast, sort of in the back of the shot when I'm doing pieces for camera, and they look quite nice. Unfortunately, they're all battery powered, and they're going through batteries like no tomorrow, which means I can barely use them. When I do use them, you know, they're dead within half an hour, and if they are fully charged with fresh batteries and I don't shoot anything for, you know, I don't know, a week or so, I'll come back and they're all dead. So it's draining the power even when they're not in use. And that's because I think they have a standby mode for a remote. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this isn't sustainable. So what I was wondering is if it was actually possible to manually wire these up, daisy chain them together. And then I have here a micro USB port, or plug I should say. And simply wire up the 5 volts plus, so VCC and ground, 5 volts plus minus, and then run it off a 5 volt 2 amp mains power supply, like the kind we use for Raspberry Pis. That I think would work fine. So I got another one here, which I've taken the batteries out, and I've taken the screws out of. And I'm just going to take this, there we go. Because what I want to do is have a look at the actual PCB. And on a zoom shot from the camera, you can see this is the layout of the PCB. It has the push button in the middle, which is when you push down on the plastic here, it has a little pin, see there? And that activates this button. And that's pretty much how it works. You can see there's a positive here, and there's a ground negative here, and that corresponds to the batteries. So first thing to do is to see, will these work okay on 5 volts? Because if we look at the battery pack version, these are 1.5 volt batteries. So 3 of them together would equal 4.5 volts, not 5. So we're half a volt off. Now that shouldn't make too much of a difference, but I just want to test that before we carry on. So over here I have my bench power supply that some of you might have seen sort of in the corner of shots. I haven't used it actually on camera yet, so this will be a first time today. And this is an adjustable DC power supply connected to the mains that allows us to select all sorts of voltages to test things. It has 2 clip leads, and what I've done is I've just attached these to a piece of insulated wire, and that's because when you're powering this up you don't want these touching and creating a dead short. So we'll power up, and you can see I've already preset it to 5 volts. Important to watch where the decimal point is. I have done it where I've got the 5 over here and ended up blasting something with 50 volts, which is very easy to do and would be very bad. Also, 0.5 volts was obviously going to be too little. So voltage is here and ampage is here. So this is now live. And we bring the clips over to where the camera is. And again, just keeping these separate for the minute so they don't touch. We'll clip ground onto there. And being very careful, 5 volts will now go onto here. Okay. So if I now push the push button in the middle, there we go. That's red. Green. That's the blue I normally use. And that's a high power white. And you can actually hear the power supply when I've got that high power white running is actually powering up, and that's extremely bright. But let's just go back to the other camera, and you can now see that we're pulling 0.16 amps through at 5 volts. And watch as I flick through. See how it drops to 0.3? Now, the plan is I want to daisy chain some of these together, which means that I can't go over the regulation for the power supply. The power supply I want to use is a 5 volt 2 amp, so that's 2.0 amp. So at the moment we're using practically no power at all. So I think daisy chaining a couple of these together I think will be okay. That's off. That's the red, green, blue. That's just the high power white that really forces it up, and that's back to low power white, which unfortunately is not too happy with my there we go. The camera not too happy with that, but you get the idea. So I think the logical thing to do would be to just disconnect. We don't actually need to disconnect them, but we could disconnect the battery terminals if we want. And we could just take 2 wires and daisy chain off each side. So what I've got is I've got some matching, I'll show you in camera, I've got some white cable and I've got some blue. So we'll just literally cut up and attach a cable either side, and we'll daisy chain a couple of these together. By the way, this wire I bought in a bulk quantity from the liquidation sale of Maplin. If you ever remember the electronics store, a bit like Tandy or Radio Shack here in the UK. And they went bust a few years ago. And I actually bought a load of stuff in my local store that they were selling very cheap, including this wire. Now this is single core stiff wire, which is not ideal for this, but it'll do. And as these aren't going to be moving when they're, in situ, I think we'll get away with it. So what I want to do is I want to solder that piece onto there. We could go onto there, but probably go onto there. And then we want to solder, because we want a daisy chain, so we now want to solder another one. And that might try going from there and across and sort of doing like that. That should be okay, he says. Famous last words. Well, what we'll do is we'll add some alcohol flux. Just flux up. And we'll do the other side as well while we're at it, so we're going to need to do the negative. Solder. And the soldering iron has been heating up just off camera. I've got a bit of wet sponge here just to clean the debris off my quite aged soldering iron. I do need to replace all this stuff actually, so it's getting on a little bit in age, but we're doing all right. So bit of solder, see if we can get this on. Not destroying the other wire. Okay, so far so good. Okay, there we go. So one wire goes that way, one wire then goes straight through out this way, And we're going to do the same now for blue. And basically I'm going to repeat this 4 times, connecting each end to the opposing light unit. So we've got the wire tinned. And now the final, just to make sure that's tinned. Very tricky to do this because I'm doing it the wrong way around. Come on. There we go. Right. Okay, not the most masterful soldering in the world, but that's basically how this is going to work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to repeat this process, as I said, and link all of them together. I'll do that off camera and I'll come back when I've got it all sorted. Right, 4 seemed a little bit too much. 3 hopefully might be all right. So we're powered back up. Let's cut the camera one. I'm sorry, I've got my soldering iron is still there in the way. There is. So we're running 0 current, 5 volts. Okay. And try turning these on if I can. That's 2 on. That's 3 on. You can hear the power supply powering up. And you can see here we're running at 5 volts and 0.16 amps. And we can go up to 2 amps. So that actually should be okay, and that will probably work fine. It's a shame we can't get 4 working, but the 3 main lights is perfect. You don't normally see the 4th actually on camera, so that's great. So I'll tidy up this wiring, and I'm just going to pop this USB here on the end, and then I need to cut some holes so we can actually feed the wiring through the sides of the outer plastic cases. So I'm going to do that next. So I've just here the third and the end one. I'm just seeing how that's going to sit back. So something like that, and we just need holes in the sides. So I'm just wondering, I did get my Dremel out, but I'm just wondering if I can just use these snips and if I can just cut, not breaking the damn thing, but kind of going out of shape, and just cut a piece of plastic out. Oh, the lens has come out. It's not a good start. Just cut a piece of plastic out. Yeah, it's not the cleanest of cuts, but let's get the lens back in. Yeah, lens is back in. And can I now there we go. That fits in, the wires come out there. There we go. Now we can put some screws back in. There we go. Okay, so about an hour later, as you can see, we're nearly done. Just cables everywhere, bit of a mess. So what I'm going to do is I've got some cable ties, and I'm just going to go and cable up, or zip, and tie the cables together so things hopefully won't get so tangled up, and I stand a chance of getting this set up properly. And in a minute we'll go for a test with a 5-volt power transformer and see how well we do, if we don't end up blowing everything up again. So the moment of truth. They're all wired in, they're all cabled in. They're a little bit light because the wire's stiff, they're moving a little bit. Here's the USB end, and here is a mains 5-volt 2-amp USB plug. Let's pop that in there. So if I short everything out, we'll know all about it. That's powered on. That's looking promising. And there we go, there's the blue. and that seems to work really, really well. So I can now set these up and run these back on the mounts underneath the shelf. I'll have to tape this wiring in somehow, but it means I can run them off mains, which means no more batteries, so I'm not wasting money on batteries, and I can run them as long as I need for shoots or live streams, which is going to be really ideal. So here we are then, they're wired up and sort of taped in. They look a little bit pink on camera. I don't think my light levels are set just right on the camera, but I can assure you those are blue, and that's how we normally have them set. And yeah, they look all right actually. I think that'll be okay under the correct lighting conditions, and that's what I wanted to achieve. So yeah, now running off mains 5 volts as opposed to individual batteries. So it took a little bit longer than I thought, made a bit of a mess of it, but we got there in the end. There is a quick rushed video for New Year. These are actually needed for the New Year's live stream, which I hope many of you joined me in viewing, because that will come out before this video does. So there you are, spoilers for the past, which doesn't actually make any sense. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, please do consider liking and subscribing. Happy New Year once again, and I hope to see you real soon right here on the channel. Until next time, bye for now.